Hello!
I was going to go with "oh yeah."
Totally stole your line.
Yeah. I mean, hello wasn't my line, but anyway, welcome to the BSI Comics Podcast.
Oh yeah!
I don't curse on this show, right?
Nope.
Alright, well, I'm Adam.
Fletch.
Thief. Anyway, has it been 2 weeks since we recorded last?
It may have been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was out of town.
Yeah, you were getting me a pretty sweet sketch from one of my favorite artists, Carlos de Anda.
Was out at the Alamo City Comic Con. Fantastic show. It's probably become my favorite show that we do every year.
And you got some pretty sweet sketches yourself. Tom Rainey.
I did.
Rainey.
Tom Rainey.
Mm-hmm. Raimi is the guy that directed Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I got a nice piece from Joel Gomez.
That was pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
You can look up both of their stuff if you don't. You should know Tom Rainey if you like comics, because he's been around since we were little kids. And Joel Gomez, you can find on what's the website that does the
Comic Vine.
Comic Vine. He's one of the people that does the sketches that they
the art challenge. Yeah.
There you go. Good stuff. Anyway, there's not a lot of comics news right now. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because we're pushing towards the end of the year, and I don't think there's any major conventions going on right now. I think we're probably done for a few months.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little light till the end of the year.
Right. With the exception of finding out, did we talk about Civil War being pushed up? I think we did.
Yep.
So we're gonna skip that. But we do have some movie news and what have you.
We do.
First of all, trailer breakdowns. The new Wonder Woman trailer came out, which is attached to Doctor Strange, which I think technically comes out the night that we're recording this. This is the first weekend.
I guess.
Pretty sure. Doctor Strange comes out, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the Wonder Woman trailer was set to attach to Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you knew that.
Which is weird.
It is, but whatever.
Seems like that would be something they'd be like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that.
So, we both watched it.
We did.
Do you want to go first?
I'll just jump off of yours.
So first and foremost, I'm going to say that this is the movie out of, I obviously saw Man of Steel. I still haven't seen Superman vs. Batman. Eventually, I'm sure I will. I haven't seen Suicide Squad. That one wasn't as intentional, but I heard it was so bad for many people that I haven't really made an effort to see it. But Wonder Woman, I've said all along, show me a good trailer, I'll see the movie.
The trailer...
Yes. Well, to begin with, it wasn't a bad trailer. It was pretty decent overall. But yes, there's a lot of slow-mo action scenes in it, seemingly, and they don't look that good.
Because everything looks cooler in slow motion.
Yes, when the CGI is really good. But the slow motion draws a lot of attention to if your CGI looks very fake. Whereas, CGI should be like that. Number one, CGI should always reinforce physical sets, physical set pieces, as much as you can. Obviously, there's certain movies like Star Wars or what have you, or the Marvel movies, where that's not always going to be feasible. But in a movie like Wonder Woman, which is set primarily in World War I, there should be enough physical set pieces, But if the action's quick enough, bad CGI won't matter as much. And I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, it just looks fake.
Right. On something with that big of a budget, that high of a profile, you expect the best of the best.
Right. And especially since Warner Brothers is really trying to sell this, because it's become a thing where at first it was like Superman versus Batman is going to convince everyone that the DC Universe movies are going to be the best. Mm-hmm. And that didn't work out. And then it was like, but Suicide Squad, man, Suicide Squad looks awesome. And it made enough money. Apparently, it kind of saved Warner Brothers' fiscal quarter as far as, them being, in the black or in the red? I can never remember which is which. They turned out positive because of Suicide Squad. Right. But the reviews for it are horrendous.
But Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Harley Quinn. Not really.
Right.
Yeah. She looked good.
My biggest concern with this Wonder Woman is being set around World War I. There might be.
Well, I'm going to give them a little credit for that.
Okay.
They could have easily went with World War II. No one would have noticed the difference. But giving us World War One means we don't have to have another Hitler thing going on. And that might have been part of the point because I think originally they were going to go up against Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Because Batman vs. Superman was supposed to go up against Avengers Age of Ultron, which means that Wonder Woman would have won against Captain America. And you don't really want to point out that, like, oh, look, 2 characters from World War II. It's kind of a rehash. It's not really, but that's an obvious criticism.
Right.
But I like that. I like that we don't have another, like, oh, look, it's Hitler and the Third Reich. They do enough of that in comics.
But overall, it looks
decent.
Possibly
I did like
promising.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Aside from the slow-mo, I actually rather liked the action scenes that I saw in it because they were shot clearly. One big problem that I've had with a lot of action movies these days is they all want to do
shaky cam.
There's a lot of it's not as much anymore, but there's still some of that. But also poorly lit, like it's really intense. I want to be able to see people fighting. If you just have things going on screen all the time, this is annoying. I don't want to see this when I'm trying to watch an action movie. It's not that exciting to me. Some people disagree, whatever. But the action seemed to be, they pulled the camera back, which is an important thing. They seemed to know what they were doing. But yeah, the slow-mo sucked.
Right.
The only really disappointing part of the trailer, and I'm not trying to focus on that. Again, I'm definitely going to see this movie. I thought it was a decent trailer. But the ending was so lame. Like, they tried to do one of the little, like, punches, like, look, it's an action movie, but we got a little bit of humor. Because it is noticeable that even in Themyscira, which is supposed to be brighter, they're still sticking with the darker palette.
The dark blue.
Yeah, like, you can kind of, like, because in Themyscira, like, it's noticeable, oh, it's a bright blue sky. But then you look at the characters and the costumes, and they're very toned down, and,
mm-hmm.
And that seems to be what Warner Brothers is sticking to.
That's the look they're going for. That's their signature look. So, like it or not, that's it.
But so they do this big, like, oh, it's a really action-packed trailer, and they want to do the little thing at the end where they have, like, the little Rocket Raccoon moment at the end with, like, it's a little punchy, funny thing. Like, look, we got a little bit of humor in this. And it sucked. It's just some weird scene where she's commenting on how do you fight in this get-up. And then you get, like, just some woman who's overweight making a comment about, I do like to engage in fisticuffs. It was just...
You didn't like it?
No.
I got it.
But it's just a trailer. It's just a random scene from the movie. Anyway, overall, I liked it. And we'll see. Like I said, give me a good trailer or a decent trailer, and I'll give it a chance. Hopefully it is a good movie.
Right.
Other news. Let's see. So, a while back, Disney had announced that they were going to take the movie Tangled
mm-hmm.
and make that into a ongoing series, which they used to do a lot in the 90s. They had
the Stitch series was awesome.
I don't remember Stitch. I remember Aladdin. I remember... Did Little Mermaid have one? I don't think so.
They were much better than the direct-to-video sequels.
Yeah, but that's not difficult. Tangled is sort of doing the same thing, except it's all the original cast, which is impressive because you have Mandy Moore, you have Zach Levi, pretty famous actors that are kind of busy usually, so it's interesting. Looks like they're doing the same thing with Big Hero 6.
Which could be pretty cool.
It is. I'm kind of surprised that they're not just going for... I mean, I'm sure there will be a sequel movie, but I'm surprised that's not what they're doing. Or at least not at the moment. But it is mostly the original cast. I think the only one that might not be there is Damon Wayans Jr., who has a pretty busy career as a comedic actor. / I think he's also a stand-up. But most of the major cast, including Stan Lee's going to be in it.
Kind of.
Well, he won't be in the whole thing, but he will be playing whenever what's his name's dad
just
shows
have like
up.
a line or two.
Most likely.
They should probably record all those soon.
Why you think there's going to have to be a funeral scene at some point in the middle?
No, come on.
It's going to be on Disney XD. But interesting. I think that might be the best movie that Disney's put out in their Pixar-esque phase since John Lasseter came on board. I mean, you can make arguments for different ones. I'm sure a lot of people love Wreck-It Ralph, which I believe is also going to have a movie coming out soon. The sequel's coming out soon. But overall, I think Big Hero 6, like, it's a perfect little entryway, and it's semi-Marvel-ish, so it's great
It's
for
a nice
kids.
blend of everything, and the like set design and the character design is really really cool. Mix of East and West.
I gotta tell you that I think San Francisco should be a land in Epcot or wherever.
I'd be down for that.
I don't know if it'll ever happen. But, so that's interesting. Something that I find less interesting. How do you feel about the movie Starship Troopers? The original, not the myriad sequels.
It's a cult classic.
I take it you don't care for it that much?
No, I love Starship Troopers.
I do as well.
It's one of those movies that's always enjoyable. You know, you can shout out the lines and
right. Anytime it's on, I'll watch it. In fact,
at least to the shower scene.
Do you remember when? What's the MST3K thing they do now? They call it something different.
Riff Tracks.
Riff Tracks. You remember Riff Tracks did the Fathom Events thing where they did Riff Tracks on Starship Troopers?
I don't remember that one, but I know what you're.
They did it. I went to see it. That is a horrible movie to Riff Tracks because the movie's actually so good that I kept forgetting that they were supposed to be making fun of it. Like, at some point I'd be watching the scene and then they'd make a joke and be like, oh, yeah, I'm not supposed to be watching the movie. I'm supposed to be paying attention to them. It's in its way, it's an intentionally bad movie.
Yeah.
It's making fun. It's a parody of old World War II propaganda.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a parody of propaganda.
Right.
Like, that's the whole thing. Like, there's an inside joke to it. There's layers to it. You can watch it and think, oh, it just looks like a bad movie. But if you pay attention, it's actually rather brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
What would you not do with a movie of that type?
Make another one?
Exactly. They're rebooting it, and it's probably going to be a lot more serious.
I don't know. They could do another campy version of that.
But, well, first of all, you can't redo the concept.
You can't redo that, and I don't think you can remake the original. Like, if you were to do, like, another one, like maybe further down the line or more in the future, I could see that. But
I think, well, part of the problem with the sequels is that the sequels did do that, where they took away the parody, which was necessary. You can't keep doing that concept because it's very conceptual. But then it becomes like just kind of cheesy sci-fi movies that have no place. And by the way, they went straight to DVD, which tells you all you need to know.
Straight to Sci-Fi Channel.
So rebooting it, to me, not the best idea.
No.
So, let's see. The only other bit of news before we do recommendations is there was a bit of a hubbub in the comics community, I guess about a week ago.
Again, notice this happens weekly.
Yes. There's a writer named Chelsea Cain, who I was not familiar with. She was actually a novelist who got into the comics game, as happens a lot these days.
Mm-hmm.
It really started in the early 2000s when Joe Quesada took over Marvel. They started bringing in different writers. J. Michael Straczynski at the time was the most prominent.
Coates on Black Panther.
There you go, Ta-Nehisi Coates. But that's an actual successful example. Okay. Chelsea Cain started writing, and to be fair, I don't know for sure that this is her first comics work. It's just the first I've heard of her being on. She did a Mockingbird series. I'd actually forgotten that there was a Mockingbird series out. It's not well received. And I think Marvel's done a few different Mockingbirds comics.
Pretty well received by the people that are reading it.
I mean,
just not a lot of people reading it.
Sales, yeah.
Gotcha.
It's not getting a lot of notoriety. The only reason that I noticed, and it's the final issue
right,
that came out a few weeks ago, the only reason that I noticed was because there's a cover.
A very attention-grabbing cover.
Basically, it's what appears to be Mockingbird. It's just kind of a random blonde woman, but we assume that it's Mockingbird. And she has a shirt that says, "Ask me about my feminist agenda." Within a week, this drew a bit of criticism from people. Mostly from old school fans who are kind of tired of reading superhero comics with political messages. Because, and I've said this many times, not necessarily on here, but superhero comics are an obvious form of escapism.
Right.
I think of it similarly to stand-up comedy. If you want to put a little message in there, cool. Don't make that the draw or the focus of your story.
Right.
Because it's hard to craft a story around a political message.
Or you get that all day. You know, when you go to read your book, you know, you can have a little bit of message in it, but I don't want it like right in my face like that.
Right.
You know?
And also, again, we got enough politics going on in the world. Superhero comics kind of not the place for it. However, it got my attention. And Bleeding Cool did a story on it, and they had posted some of the pages from it. And so I read a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. And Chelsea Cain seems fairly talented. Enough to where I haven't read it yet, but I downloaded, you know, iTunes does you can get the first chapter of a book and see if you like it. I went ahead and downloaded it. I'm going to check it out. She seems to have some talent. That said, this quickly turned into, now, I'll tell you what the internet said happened, which is that Chelsea Cain was bombarded with harassment by more straight white males who are out to destroy women and blah, blah, blah.
It's like the equivalent of asking, like your mom asking your brother what happened.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. He knew better than to rat me out. Anyway, so the story was that she was harassed into leaving Twitter, and there was a hashtag which I don't think picked up much steam that said, "I stand with Chelsea Cain." I read up a little bit. There were a few writers who actually wanted to find out more after this had happened, after she had quit Twitter, and actually started asking people, can you send me some of the tweets that she was sent, like all the horrible tweets? For the most part, they couldn't find any. There was a lot of reports that this had happened, but it's the internet. You can't get pee out of a pool. There should be plenty of like gross tweets.
Right.
To be honest, I think they found like one or two, and they were horrible, by the way.
There's horrible tweets about whatever, though.
Right.
You know? One of my buddies is an artist, and he got a horrible tweet from somebody. Or a message a couple days ago. He draws women, and there was F-bomb laden assault on, you know, we're not all porn stars and hookers, and
he's friends with J. Scott Campbell.
I wish. But it's crazy how people overreact to anything, you know?
Yes. And, but I actually read, so Chelsea Cain posted a blog about it.
Right.
Story's not entirely true.
Okay.
She did get some harassment. It's almost true. What happened was she started to get, like, some negative tweets, and she thought about it. She was like, I got a kid. I got a husband who loves me. I got a successful career. Do I need to be on Twitter? No. So she quit. So, some truth there. Now, a couple things. First of all, there are people out there who have this vested interest in making you think that there are these old, evil, straight white men trying to ruin the comics industry, which, number one, is stupid. The majority of comics fans are straight white males. There's no disagreeing with that. That's the truth. Now, it might only be 55%.
Right.
But if you break it up into, like, here's 55, and then here's a 25, a 35, a 10, whatever it is, straight white males basically built this industry.
Right.
The idea that they're intent on keeping people out, I wouldn't say it's ludicrous, but it's a little silly because we all want to keep this industry running.
Everybody wants to read good books.
Right.
Everybody wants to look at nice art. You know, it's not...
Right. And I will point this out. You ever notice that whenever there's this thing that, you know, straight white males are trying to, like, keep women out of the industry, you ever notice that it's always a writer? There's never a whole lot of criticism of the female artist, which means that people are going to disagree on your writing style. But it's a little easier to agree on whether or not art's good or bad. Draws a little bit of attention to, you know, the validity of it. I'm just pointing out, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, and obviously anyone who attacks a writer in general, regardless of whether or not they're male or female, death threats are unacceptable, but that's kind of the internet. It's going to happen. Anything like sexual, which does tend to happen, obviously, to female creators, also unacceptable. But somebody in there seemed, and I did see plenty of this, people pointing out, hey, not interested in your feminist agenda. That's perfectly acceptable. That's criticism, and you're going to draw it.
Don't pick up the book. Don't read it.
Which is what happened. Now, I do want to say this. Now, you and I both, you said you read the whole issue.
Yeah.
I read part of it. You said you liked it, right?
I did. We sold out, too.
Here's the solution to that. Well, we probably sold out because of we didn't have many to begin with.
No, but we sold them all. So.
Right, but some of that was probably part of the controversy, right?
No.
Okay. Well, then I'm wrong. There are better ways to get a writer over than, first of all, the cover itself. Take out the political message. It wasn't a good cover.
It didn't have anything to do with the book either, really. I
Right.
mean, there was no feminist agenda, really. I mean, there was a little retconning or clearing up of some stuff that happened in some random comics from like the
and
80s
those
or 90s.
that was the 80s.
Right.
They did address some issues that you might put in as feminist, whatever. But my point is that you have a writer with talent. There are better ways to get that writer over and to get people interested in the writer, which in turn will get them interested in the book. If I knew who Chelsea Cain was and I knew that she had talent, I'd be much more likely to pick up an issue of Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm.
But when I walk through the comic stands and I see a cover that's letting me know that this is going to be political and this is going to be feminist, I'm not interested in that. You can complain about me all you want. As a consumer, I'm not paying $3 for that.
For instance, the Valiant, the Faith book this week has Hillary Clinton on the cover.
Right.
They double shipped us, I believe, double shipped everyone, twice what you ordered to kind of get the book out so we'd have extra. Now, whether you're pro-Hillary, pro-Trump, whatever, like you were saying, this is kind of an escape. You don't want to come in and be blasted with...
Right. I gave Marvel a little bit of a pass with Barack Obama because that was a pretty big event in human history.
That was also after he was elected.
Absolutely. But I only gave him a slight pass. Like, after that one issue where he appeared on the Spider-Man comic, I don't want to see it again. There's no reason to. And to their credit, I don't think they've had a vague black president, but they don't name him. And I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. But you don't need that kind of stuff. I will say that I would imagine that the people who are already reading Faith demographically are more likely to pick up, like, not have a problem with Hillary Clinton on the cover. Yeah, look, I don't care if you think I'm an asshole. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. But even so, it's an escapism thing. I don't need it. And again, I mean, I'm not a Donald Trump fan, but I don't want to see him on the cover either.
At Valiant, I told him the same thing. I said, I don't think people want that on the cover.
Did they tell you don't know what you're talking about? Did they say we'll take that under advisement?
No, he just took it for what it is. They're good guys. I love those guys.
Point is that I'd like to see Chelsea Cain doing more Marvel work or more comics work. But maybe the best way to do that is to reintroduce backups. Like, do things to get that writer over. Do a one-shot that I might be interested in. Give me a reason to read the book. There's a lot of good Marvel books out there, and then there's Marvel books that I don't know why I should pick it up. I hate to mention it, but you mentioned Solo earlier. Solo's not doing that well. I don't know why I should pick up Solo. Now, to be fair, he wasn't that Deadpool merch for money.
Right.
I didn't really know why he was in that book either, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with Marvel putting that book out, but I don't have a reason as a consumer to pick it up. And if I, someone who works for a retailer, don't have a reason to pick it up, then why should a random customer, whether they be a regular that trusts our opinion, or somebody who's never been here before, why should they pick it up?
Right.
A book you love, Moon Knight. You love it. You keep recommending it. I've yet to read it. I don't feel any need to pick up that book. And I don't have a problem with Moon Knight. I just don't know why I need to pick that up.
Jeff Lemire.
I like Jeff Lemire, but he's on 100 different other things.
You're right.
When Warren Ellis did it, I had a reason to pick up Moon Knight. And I loved it. And I tried to keep up with it. The next writer, not to say that he wasn't a good writer, the book lost all of its flavor as soon as somebody new came on board. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Is like and I don't like the whole affirmative action thing, but I am fine with more female writers. And first of all, because I don't think we need more diversity, but we need more voices, more people with different views on the world and different stories to tell. If Chelsea Cain comes at that, whether it's from a feminist agenda or whatever, she just brings a different voice to it. That's a good thing. I want to see that. But again, you have to give me a reason to be invested in this writer.
Right.
And tell me about my feminist agenda. It's really eye-catching. People noticed it, but they kept walking, and they were kind of a little disgusted. Not all of them. You said we sold out on it.
We did.
But did you hear any complaints?
No. There were some chuckles.
Well, there were. Okay. Well, I'm just saying, there was some reaction to it. Not all of it was positive.
Right.
Which, to be fair, that's going to happen. Anyway, my point isn't, straight white males forever. My point isn't no women in comics. My point is there needs to be more of an effort from these companies to get somebody over. And there also needs to be, on the other side of that, the creative end, an acceptance that not everybody's going to like your stuff.
And we need diversity because it's good, not just because it's diverse, I guess.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So with our political message out of the way...
You said there's a bunch of Marvel books that you didn't pick up or books you wouldn't pick up because you didn't know why.
Okay.
Can you tell us about some books that you would pick up because you do know why?
You could have just let me go into the recommendations.
No, I totally wanted to cut you off.
That was a weird segue. Why don't you do your recommendation first?
As I segue to you, I'll just take it, yeah. So, one of those books, a lot of people were saying they didn't have a reason to pick up. It didn't look super interesting, or it just looked like another one of those thrown together Marvel team books. The Champions. Did any of us recommend the number one?
I recommended number one on the last episode, and I also wrote a review of it, a mini review.
So number one came out, and pretty much across the boards in my friends at comic shops and this comic shop, we were like, oh man, I don't know about this. We read it. It was awesome. We all loved it. Pretty much everyone I handed that book to loved it. We sold out. We had to go to second prints, which is pretty crazy.
We did have a few people who came in and said, I wasn't going to read this, but I heard y'all saying it was good, so I will. And they seemed a little upset, like Blake Petit seemed a little like, I'm trusting you with this. It better be good.
Right. I don't take recommendations lightly. If I tell you something's good, I really do think it's good, and I stand behind it. We sold out of them. I don't have any number ones to give anyone right now. So that's pretty crazy, especially for a Marvel number one, because we usually have plenty of those. So the second issue came out this week, and it's completely different than the first one, but just as good. It's incredible.
You know what I like about this issue? So it's not a complaint, but the first issue was clearly more like getting the band together.
Right.
Like there was nothing. It was a good, solid issue. I really liked it, and it made me look forward to future issues.
It was a good tone setter.
But wasn't reinventing the wheel.
No, not at all.
This issue is more getting the band together, but flips the table setting. This issue 2 feels like it should be issue 9. It's them like, all right, we're going to be a team. We actually need to figure each other out. We're not just going to go out and fight crime. So they go out into the woods, have a bonfire.
Sitting around a campfire, discussing, each other's powers, asking questions. Like, how can we work as a team to do good?
And what's really great, now this is Mark Waid, one of probably in the top 5 comics writers of our generation.
Oh yeah, easy.
So you listen to that and you think, oh, it's a book about some kids talking for 20 pages. Why should I spend $3 on that? Because it's Mark Waid and he figures out a way to keep it interesting. And I love this old school cover. They stopped doing the dialogue covers a long time ago. This isn't entirely. It's somewhat reflective of what happens in the issue, but not entirely.
It's homage-y.
Anyway, it's Mark Waid and Roberto Ramos. It's a good issue. Very interesting ending.
The last page is I don't want to say a doozy. It's pretty cool.
You've used that word twice now.
Doozy.
Sounds like a euphemism for something we can't discuss on the show.
No, the last page is pretty cool. Dig it.
Right.
Definitely check this out.
Speaking of things you should check out, I hate to stick with Marvel, but to me this was the biggest release of the week. The Unworthy Thor. So, as many people know, Thor's a chick now. It's been good. It's Jason Aaron, Russell Doderman.
No, it's definitely a good book.
It's got a little bit of that 90s Thor Eric Masterson where he's trying to be Thor-esque and trying to use the language on. Mm-hmm. It's got all that, but people missing old school Thor, and the unworthy Thor is what you need if that's what you've been looking for. So basically, the idea is that the Ultimate Universe Thor's hammer is one of the things that came to the 616 universe. I guess Marvel's not using 616 anymore, but whatever. The regular Marvel universe. So now there are two Mjolnirs in the regular Marvel universe. One of them is the female Thor, or Thora Birch.
Is this a spoiler?
No, this isn't a spoiler.
Okay.
This was the premise they had promised to begin with. Basically, so Thora Birch has the regular Mjolnir, and the Odin son, the Unworthy, has been really depressed and typically drunk because he doesn't have Mjolnir anymore.
But he has an axe and a goat.
He has an axe and a goat, which sounds like a completely weird bachelor party. But he finds out, not going to tell you how, but he finds out that there's another Mjolnir out there, and he basically decides, I'm going to go and I'm going to make myself worthy again. I will own this hammer. And if there's one complaint, and this is true of Champions number 1, it's true of a lot of books, it's not that it feels a little light, it's just that it's a taste of things to come. It's a great book. You should definitely pick up Unworthy Thor number 1, but it will leave you with a little bit like, okay, like, but...
It sets the table for a big feast.
Right.
Put it like that.
And same thing as Champions number 2. There's a very interesting ending, which you might have seen on the internet. I saw a couple of websites spoiling it. There was no reason to. It's not that big a deal. It won't ruin the book, but...
it's cooler if you just flip the page and you're like, ah, ha, ha.
Yeah. So, Unworthy Thor number 1. It's Jason Aaron, who's, again, doing the regular Thor book, and Olivier Coipel, who was with J. Michael Straczynski when they rebooted Thor in 2008, 2007, roughly, somewhere in there. So yeah, check it out. And with that sound, we're about to start the New Orleans Drink and Draw. Say hello, Derek Donovan. Please don't curse.
Hello, Derek Donovan.
F you all.
There we go.
Much love.
So
read more comics.
Yeah, and go to BSI Comics if you can. And we're out.
Peace out.